Morning, everyone. As Americans look for new ways to cope with a bumpy economy, schools nationwide are racking up debt to feed hungry students. The median district has more than $5,000 in lunch debt. That's according to the School Nutrition Association. In some areas, unpaid balances reach as high as $1.7 million. Skyrocketing costs are just one of the many challenges. Congress ended a pandemic-era program last fall that paid for all student meals regardless of their income. Meg Oliver brings us more on the story.
Here you go. What are you getting, cutie?
At Makefield Elementary, Afifa Benjamin serves up cheeseburgers, sweet peas, and
Hot dogs and bologna, hanging with my
a few lyrics for the lunch crowd.
These kids are family to me.
The Pennsbury School District in Yardley, Pennsylvania has more than 9,000 students. 30% qualify for free or reduced school meals.
Are kids coming through this lunch line with trays full of food and no money in their account?
Yep.
The federal waivers providing free school lunches nationwide during the pandemic expired in September.
You guys want cheese?
A new study shows school meal programs are at risk with rising costs and supply chain issues.
How high is your student lunch debt?
At the moment, it's $65,000.
Why is it so high?
I think families are having to decide whether they are going to pay their electric bill or pay for their students to eat meals.
Kimberly Steffi is the Director of Financial Services for the district. They're fortunate to have private donors pay their debt, allowing them to continue providing breakfast and lunch to every student, even if they can't afford it.
If you're a district that doesn't have these great donations coming in, what happens?
Those districts will have to take resources from their general fund to pay for the debt.
Nationwide, student lunch debt tops $19 million. Some districts are so desperate they've resorted to lunch shaming in the past, offering kids a cold sandwich instead of a hot meal or banning them from school events if they carry a balance. Lori Atkins is president of the School Nutrition Association, who's urging Congress to permanently pass free school meals for every student.
We're really concerned about making sure that all hungry kids have access to food during the school day.
The current federal program pays schools back for each student meal served based on income levels. As part of a bipartisan bill last summer, Congress raised the reimbursement rate by 40 cents for lunch, but the program is set to expire in June.
Do you think Congress realizes how many students go hungry every day?
No. Somebody needs to let them know.
What's your message to them?
Every kid needs to get fed.
Meg Oliver, CBS News, New York.
According to the USDA, more than 9 million children in America are food insecure. In the past few years has only pushed that number higher. Recent efforts for a more permanent solution appear to be stalled in Congress, and the latest proposal doesn't go back to paying for all student meals. So parents and teachers in the Lowndes County School District are now planning for their next school year under a newly adopted calendar. The school district adopted a modified calendar beginning in the 2023-24 school year. Our Rosalind Friedman talked to the superintendent and a teacher about the change.
Lowndes County School Superintendent Sam Allison says administrators has been looking at other districts that have adopted the modified calendar and the effects those changes have had on students' performance. And he believes his schools are ready.
Change is hard for some, but for the, if we'd have felt the majority didn't want change, we wouldn't have moved forward with it.
Starting in July, students will attend classes for 9 weeks and for 2 weeks have either intervention, remediation if needed, or enrichment for students. The new calendar raises some concerns for parents, and Allison says the district is working to address those.
One thing, our assistant superintendents, they found every daycare that serviced our kids in the county, and they went and visited them, and they assured us that they would offer the same services for the weeks of breaks throughout the year that they offer in the summer.
The district is currently working on ideas and plans for the 2 weeks intercession periods. Allison says it's not a one-size-fits-all pattern. Activities and staffing will look different from school to school.
It's a small percentage that we'll serve during that time, but once we get the numbers, we'll staff it based on the numbers of people that come back. And I'll leave that mainly up to our principals on how they want to, every building will be different.
According to a district-wide survey, 85% of teachers are in favor of the new calendar. English teacher Rachel Robertson is one who believes that the intersession remediation could increase academic success.
And I think most would admit that in English, especially when you're writing research and you're having to use formal language, and a lot of the one-on-one help is needed. And especially if you're behind, that assistance can get a student caught up so that when they come back, then they're exactly where they need to be with those other students.
And as a parent, Robertson also sees the potential for more family quality time.
I have 6 children, and so we have a lot of activities we plan around, which to me is also a benefit of those extra weeks during the school year. It may be that we can take some time as a family to spend a few days where we wouldn't normally in the summer because of all of their extracurricular activities.
That was our Rosalind Freeman reporting. Again, classes will start the last week of July and run through the end of May. You can see that upcoming school calendar for the Lowndes County School District on our website. The future is uncertain for the Saturn rocket at the Ardmore Welcome Center. That's coming up next on Mid-Morning. Welcome back. For those entering the state of Tennessee from Alabama on I-65, chances are you've probably seen the Saturn 1B rocket at the Ardmore Welcome Center, but officials say the rocket has an uncertain future amid continuing deterioration. Here's the latest.
Unless you've been up close to the rocket, you're not aware that it is in not very good shape.
The Ardmore Welcome Center was established back in 1977. 2 years later, the U.S. Space and Rocket Center donated the Saturn 1B rocket. For 4 decades, it served as a symbol for Huntsville's role in the space program, but the 168 feet high, 22 feet in diameter rocket is decaying.
There's been an ongoing discussion within the space community in Huntsville as to what is going to happen or what should be done with the Saturn 1B, about should it be taken down and restored, or what should be put in its place.
Saturn 1B was one of 3 Saturn rockets developed here in Huntsville. It was designed for orbital training missions with both the Apollo spacecraft and lunar model.
I think we need something that's more contemporary, but would still make people say, oh gosh, we got to stop and look at that. It needs to be something just as exciting as what has been there for the last 40-something years.
Right now, the Welcome Center is closed. It's in the process of getting a facelift. Central says the rocket was painted in 2006 and received additional maintenance in 2014, but the rocket is still deteriorating.
Keep in mind that this rocket was never built to be intended to be outside for 40 to 50 years, because rockets that were built were to be used one time.
At the end of the day, Centel says the future for Saturn 1B is in the hands of Marshall Space Flight Center and the U.S. Space and Rocket Center.
Anything that goes up in its place is something, it would take a big cooperative outlay of money that would come from a number of different sources, because whatever goes up next will be expensive.
Coming up, a bakery in Starkville finds a sweet solution to slow business. We'll talk with the owner when Mid-Morning returns. All right, welcome back. A new study indicates that intermittent fasting may not be as effective for weight loss as once thought. A lot of people do this. So this study was published last week in the Journal of the American Heart Association. Intermittent fasting involves the timing of eating your meals. For example, a person might choose to fast for 16 hours out of the day and then consume all of their meals in an 8-hour window. But this study showed that there's no association between restricting eating times and weight loss. That included how long people waited to eat after waking up, or how long their window of eating was throughout the day, and how close to bedtime they ate. Not sure what it said about what you ate, so that's something else. Anyway, there were few racial and ethnic minorities among the participants. The researchers did not take into account factors like stress and people's environment. So a bakery in Starkville that caters to people with special dietary needs is having a hard time finding the right recipe for success. Power of the Almond is a homegrown bakery that creates delicious treats that are sugar, gluten, and keto friendly. But rising costs for ingredients and a low-profile location had the store on the brink of closing. That is until the owner had a post that went viral on Facebook. Our Keely Shields takes up the story there.
I sat there and I typed up a post, and it was a heartfelt post, and it was the truth about everything that we're going through. And I woke up the next morning at 8 a.m. and the post was already at 1,000 shares.
The next day, Hutchinson had over 200 orders to fill. This week, the business is sold out of most of its inventory. Employee Marlena Evans says things are getting a little hectic, but that's a good problem to have.
They sold out this past weekend, and then it brings me to come to work on Monday and go to full swing, working to make sure we can keep pies and everything in the cooler box.
Hutchinson opened Power of the Almond 2 years ago with the dream to cater to those who also struggle with dietary needs. While business was great for the first year, inflation hit the store hard, especially since the bakery uses specialized ingredients.
It's not just something that you can get off the shelf at Walmart, because the quality that we're going for is a little bit higher standards than what these big retail grocery stores around here offer.
While they may be tucked away at a Mississippi State's business incubator, people from all over are now searching them out and showing their support. And Hutchinson and Evans are hopeful for the future.
We're in a dim part of Starkville, but I'm so glad now, since we've been viral, we are letting our light shine.
Hutchinson says the small businesses are the lifeblood of every community, and these days they are all struggling.
If you get the chance and you've got an off day, and if you don't even need the product, just stop by a local business and support them and buy something, because it really, really does help them out.
Power of the Almond says their next step is to find a more visible location in Starkville. You can learn more about the business on our website, WCBI.com. So they write the songs we love, and they could be in the Songwriters Hall of Fame very soon. A conversation with some of them and Anthony Mason next on Mid Morning. Welcome back. Songwriters are eligible for induction to the Songwriters Hall of Fame 20 years after their first commercial release. This year, 24 artists and songwriting teams were nominated. Typically, 6 are elected, but there was a tie. Anthony Mason has the names of the 7 new members of the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
1, 2, 3, 4, come on, baby, say you love me 5, 6, 7 times.
The first Hispanic woman ever to be inducted, Gloria Estefan, leads the class of 2023.
Rhythm is gonna get you. Rhythm is
Lead singer of the Miami Sound Machine, founded with her husband Emilio.
The rhythm is gonna get you tonight.
She's written or co-written many of their hits, and her own, including 3 #1 pop songs.
And I do anything for you.
And another 7 #1s on the Latin charts. Music is almost mystical to me, the Havana-born singer has said. One of the best-selling female artists of all time, Gloria Estefan, joins the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Someday somebody's gonna make you wanna turn around and say goodbye.
For decades, Glenn Ballard has been one of the most sought-after songwriters in music, co-writing hits for Wilson Phillips
If you hold on for one more day.
and Dave Matthews.
Space between our wicked lies is...
A 6-time Grammy winner, Ballard co-wrote and arranged Man in the Mirror for Michael Jackson.
I'm starting with the man in the mirror.
And co-wrote and produced Alanis Morissette's blockbuster album, Jagged Little Pill.
And I'm here to remind you of the mess you left when you went away.
Glenn Ballard has been elected to the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
When the pimp's in the crib, ma, drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Calvin Broadus Jr., yes, Snoop Dogg, came out of the West Coast hip-hop scene.
With so much drama in the LBC, it's kinda hard being Snoop D-O double G.
His debut album, Doggy Style, produced by Dr. Dre, went straight to number 1.
1, 2, 3 into the 4. Snoop Doggy Dogg and Dr. Dre is at the door.
Snoop's laid-back gangster rap changed hip-hop.
So what, we smoke weed.
And made him one of the genre's most commercially successful artists.
It's like I'm 17 again, peach fuzz on my face. Looking on the case, trying to find a hella taste. Oh.
You don't get respect if you don't deserve it, Snoop has said.
Katie, my lady, look at here, baby.
Snoop Dogg, respectfully, enters the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Liz Rose is best known for her work with Taylor Swift. They've written 16 songs together.
Running scared, I was there, I remember it all too well.
One of Nashville's most admired lyricists, Rose didn't start writing till she was 37. I don't have a sound per se, she said, so I can write with anybody, like Miranda Lambert. With Lori McKenna and Hillary Lindsey, she's also part of the songwriting trio The Love Junkies, who wrote Girl Crush for Little Big Town.
I got a girl crush.
Liz Rose joins the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
When you were gone, I turned stone.
Jeff Lynne created the orchestral rock sound of ELO, the Electric Light Orchestra.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why you had to hide away for so long.
The band charted 20 top 40 hits in the 70s and 80s. Then one day, Tom Petty passed Lynne in his car.
And he honked his horn and said, pull over. And so I said...
He just honked the horn on the street at you?
Yeah. And he went, yeah, do you fancy doing some work together, like writing some tunes together? And the next thing I knew, we'd written Free Falling, and I went back down.
Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Lynne was part of yet another songwriting team.
Everybody's got somebody to lean on.
The Traveling Wilburys, with 4 co-writers named Dylan, Petty, Harrison, and Orbison. Jeff Lynne enters the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Down, good Lord.
Teddy Riley created the New Jack Swing sound, fusing hip-hop and R&B with his groups Blackstreet and Guy.
I like the way you work it, no diggity, I got to bag it up.
He also wrote smash hits for Keith Sweat,
I want that, baby.
for Bobby Brown, and he co-wrote and produced 6 tracks on Michael Jackson's Dangerous album. Teddy Riley has been voted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. The final inductee, Sade. Born in Nigeria, educated in London.
Your love is king, crown you in my heart.
Sade Adu broke through in the mid-'80s.
Diamond light.
With a cool, jazz-inflected sound that urged listeners to move in space with minimum waste and
Maximum joy.
She wrote or co-wrote most of her band's big hits. I only make records when I feel I have something to say, she said. Sade is not a brand, but Sade is now a member of the Songwriters Hall of Fame. Anthony Mason, CBS News.
All those folks worthy of being in the Hall of Fame for sure. We'll be back to wrap things up. Stay with us. The writer-director of the Oscar-winning film The Father is back with another family drama, The Son. David Daniel talked with the film's creator and stars.
Hugh Jackman juggles his new family and his ex-wife and troubled teen in The Son.
Kate's just here to talk to me about Nicholas. We've just found out he hasn't been going to school for almost a month.
It's not only that, Peter. He's not well.
Laura Dern, Zen McGrath, and Vanessa Kirby co-star in the drama from writer-director Florian Zeller.
Your other son, he needs you as well. And you're at work all of the time.
What I really wanted to do is to tell this story from the stepmother's perspective, the mother's perspective, and the father's perspective. All these people surrounding this young adolescent, trying to understand.
What is there in your life that is so dramatic? You're not able to go to school like everybody else. Answer me. Answer me.
I can't deal with it.
Don't understand what that means. You can't deal with what?
Living. I can't deal with living, and it's your fault.
Jackman and Dern both have kids around Nicholas's age.
My children and all the children that they're around and the people I see in other families, you see this mental health crisis happening all over the place, and a almost collective ignorance about what to do about it, how to handle it, how to talk about it, how to feel about it. There's so much shame and so much guilt.
I don't know what's happening to me.
There's so much that as a woman, as a parent, I understood and related to within her desperate longing to fix.
I feel like a complete failure.
I think what I love about the script is it really gives no answers, but it really does spark conversations.
It's my little boy. I can't give up on it.
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
All right, we are all out of time. Enjoyed spending this time with you. We will see you back here tomorrow.